Hello and welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. In today's video I've got a special treat for you. I'm going to head over to an entrepreneur I know. So let's get going. Check out his shop. Hello, if you're new to this channel, my name is Dan Shannon. I enjoy woodworking as a hobby and being out in the shop. On this channel, dive deep into my shop as we explore tools and tool reviews, as well as chatting about everything related to woodworking. If this grabs you by the tool belt, please subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. And welcome to Shop Talk with Dan the Man. Today I have a special guest and I'm actually in a different location. As you can see, I'm in this is Mr. Bill, his shop, and we're just going to go over, basically what he does. And he's an entrepreneur, has his own business, and yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and all about your business and what you got going on.
Okay, I'm 65. I'm retiring the end of this year. About 10 years ago, I started my own little business called It Is Finished, and my wife picked out the name. I loved it, and a lot of what I do is some furniture, personalized furniture, and some crafts, and mostly crafts because I use my scroll saw for most of what I do. Yeah.
And so you said how many years ago was it that you started this business?
The business I probably started about 10 years ago, but I've been into scrolling for, it's got to be a little over 30 years maybe. 65.
Right.
I started 35 years ago.
So what made you just kind of dive in? Was it your wife kind of nudging you in the right direction, saying, you know what, you're good at this, let's give it a shot? Or
No, it all started, I used to go fishing with my daughter down Hubbard's. Okay. And on the wharf had a wall on it, and she couldn't see over the wall to cast. So I built her a stool. I used a little saber saw to make the stool, and first thing I made, and I absolutely loved it. And if I'm not mistaken, it still could be around somewhere.
Awesome, yeah.
Still could be around somewhere. So I made it with a handle on it, store my hooks and stuff in it, and it just took off from there. And I really didn't get into scrolling till I bought my first house, which was 26 years ago. And I just looked around. We didn't have a lot of YouTube back then, so it was hard to find stuff, but through catalogs, and I picked up a scroll saw. Got it from Sears, Crafts-MR, 16-inch. Worst scroll saw I ever had, but I absolutely loved it. And why it was the worst? It was so hard to change the blades.
Right, they were back then.
Yeah. I needed an Allen key and a pair of pliers to change the blades, and it wasn't easy. And every now and then, when the blade broke, I'd lose the part that held on because it would bounce all over the place. I couldn't find it.
My dad had an old one, same thing.
Yeah.
It would just fall apart, and you were sometimes he'd just leave. He'd just leave
walk
the
away.
shop.
Got to come back and find it. So my first shop was in my basement. We had a sunken living room, which had the furnace underneath, but it was a huge room wasted.
Right.
And that's where I set up my first shop. I didn't have all the stuff I have now. I had nowhere to put it all.
Right.
So
I have a similar circumstance at mine. It's when you have a small shop, it's like tools are buried and you have to rearrange just to do one thing.
I needed a saw. I'd have to put one saw away, dig another saw out. The ceiling was so low, I could walk. I'm 5'8". I could walk without hitting my head unless there was a pipe. Then I'd hit my head on the pipe. But anyone else come in of any height, always had to bend over to come in.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
And my wife wasn't crazy about the sawdust going through those.
No.
I never noticed.
Well, when you're in the shop, you don't, and then you look around and there's this big cloud, kind of a haze, if you will. Yeah, my dad had the same issue in his shop. He was in the basement, And sometimes my mom would be like, it's literally like snow falling sometimes when she get going with certain projects, like a lot of sawdust really builds up.
I keep the door shut, but it still didn't keep it all.
No, it can't keep it all for sure. But
yeah.
What would you say, your favorite type of project? Like I know you've done so many over the years, and like, give us some examples. I guess.
Like doing personal projects with someone's name in it, because it's a gift that's going to last them a lifetime.
A literal lifetime, yeah,
because,
exactly.
I made some for your daughters, shelves with someone's name in it.
Yeah.
And with the names coming now, they're not making fun of the names, but they're different, and you just can't find stuff like that in the store.
Yeah. No.
My wife's got me to do a ton of personal stuff for the house, stuff that I've made two end tables, and they're high because when you sit on the coach, your coffee's right there, you don't have to drop it down.
Right.
Then she needed one for the other end, but it had to be smaller and narrower because
where it was located.
The space. Yeah.
Right.
So I love doing stuff like that, like customizing something they want. I especially love doing stuff on my scroll saw where I customize a name. Like I'll do name shelves, and what that is, it's just a shelf with a name in it. 3 hooks, you can stick it to the wall, and that's something that lasts someone a lifetime.
Well, my kids still have theirs in their bedroom.
And when they move, they're taking them with them.
Exactly.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, when they move out.
Yep, Uncle Billy made them, so there's that part too.
So there's those. There's Christmas ornaments. In 2021, I did 50 to 60 of them, and they're all personalized. And some I sell, some I give away, depending on the circumstance. I prefer to sell them, but I don't mind giving them away either, because it's a gift that was given to me by God, and I have no problem sharing it with the world.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And speaking of that, my shelves are all around the world. At one point, they were just in Nova Scotia, then they were in Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, then Ontario, BC. I've sent shelves to Australia. I have a shelf in Australia.
Wow.
Okay, so literally around the world.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are some more specialty? I heard you say something about coasters, and there's a bunch of different things that you would customize for people.
Yeah, there's coasters that I do. The ones that I've done recently, once again for my wife, say faith, hope, and love, and peace. I made some for my daughter and her in-laws, not with faith, hope, and love, but different pattern, because they just want them.
Right.
So I made them, and just love doing it. And I use different. Most projects are never the same. Right. Even if I make 2 Christmas ornaments that are identical, they're never identical because they're done by hand.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're done by. There's always a little different. And no one notices except for me.
Right.
And if I don't tell anybody, they don't notice.
Right. Well, this day and age too, like how much of the stuff you get is all cookie cutter. Like there's no hands on. It's literally like machine done or whatever. So to have someone to actually take the time in their shop to build these projects, like that's a huge deal. Like, so there's a lot of time and effort put into these. And didn't you say you did urns?
Yes, I've even done a few urns too.
Yeah.
I did one for my brother-in-law, believe it or not, and his best friend gave me the wood to make it, bird's eye maple.
Yeah.
And he gave me the wood to make it. He was dying of cancer. We knew that, and just a matter of when. And he asked if I'd make it, and his best friend was there and said, "Only if I give you the wood."
Right.
So he gave me the wood, and I made it. I made a few other ones, so they're good. I mean, they're solid wood. Like there's not going to rot. None of this cheap plywood or MDF.
Right.
It is solid wood.
And he's even done some custom inlay in the one that you did, which looks beautiful. It's very nice. Yeah. And you've even done a couple projects that someone has said, "Hey, I seen this online. Can you figure this out and build it?"
Can you make it?
You've done that as needed. People that require different.
And one recently was a Christmas ornament. She wanted a lighthouse on it, and she wanted to say, "Let your light shine." So I mean, you need a pattern to do all this stuff. And I follow a guy online. His name is Steve Good. I recommend that if you're getting in the scrolls line, he's the man to follow. He's got over 4,000 free patterns online. And yes, this is a dig for him, that are free all you gotta do is download them. Now, some of the stuff he makes, I don't care for, but I don't complain because it's free. Probably up till 6 months ago, 90% I made was his stuff. Right. My wife and I got a new program on our computer where we're making some of the stuff ourselves.
Cool.
She's loving doing the design.
Oh, I bet.
And then I'll go in and I'll say, well, no, I can't do that because it's too hard to cut out. So she'll...
both heads together make perfect.
Yeah, and that's something I was looking at doing, but it is time consuming if you don't have the proper hardware and stuff to make a pattern. So a lot of what I do will be Steve Goods, and I will change it up a bit if it's something about it I don't like or something I want to add to it, and he says go for it. Go for it.
Yep. I always say on my channel, no matter how big or how small your shop is, just get out and enjoy it. Work on projects and just have fun. Now, would you say over the years, like, you started off, this is a fun thing, enjoyable. Would you say now that you've been doing it for so long, it turns the fun part just kind of starts to wind down a little, or you still enjoy getting out here and I guess if there's a timeline maybe on the project, it might put a little heat on you, but for the most part, you still enjoy it?
For the most part, I still enjoy it. I find it therapeutic, believe it or not. It is. I find it relaxing. Now, there's the odd time where tool's not working properly or I cut it wrong, and then you get, but overall, it's very therapeutic. It's very calming. It's very relaxing. It's when you finish a project and you see what it looks, and you see the people's face, and it's not even necessarily the kids, it's the parents that, holy cow, you got a shelf that's got my kid's name in it that you can't buy anything in the store with the name. Right?
That's right.
And the parents love it. And so it's just, it's not a job. Even though this Christmas I've been probably busier than I've ever been, it's still not.
Right, at the end of the day.
It's not overwhelming. Yeah.
You'd still come in here and turn on the saw and be just as happy as when you started. That's something big. Yeah. Before we get into a project from start to finish and you show us all that, I just want to thank Mr. Bill for having the opportunity to just come into his shop and just to observe what you do, your business, and there'll be some links down below as how you're going to be able to contact Mr. Bill if you see anything that you like, or maybe have any questions for him, maybe a project that you would love have done on the scroll saw and know the pattern, or even if you don't, send him a picture. I'm sure he can, figure it out.
And that was one thing I was going to say, Dan, thanks for bringing it up, is if you have any questions, by far I am not an expert. I'm not an expert, but Steve Good is. He gives a lot of good advice. You can talk back and forth to him on email. He is in the States. But if you have any questions or concerns, or Bill, I'd love to start this, what would be the best saw to get, I will give you some advice. I won't tell you the best saw to get, I'll just give you some advice. And like Dan said, down in the comment section below, be my contact, and I have no problem. I wouldn't even have a problem if you said, Bill, can I come out and see how you do it? I'd have no problem bringing you out and showing you how to do it. So it's
awesome.
Okay, I want, like Dan says, get out in the shop.
Yep.
Just get out in the shop.
Yeah, you don't have to be a professional. You don't have to own your own business.
No.
The goal, my channel's always been, is just to get out in your shop, fire up the tools, and create something. Just and with Mr. Bill here, I mean, he's not only creating things, but he's seeing the joy that brings to people when they get a customized project put together, a shelf or whatever it might be. But
Christmas ornament, it says baby's first Christmas and a year. Now this is one I did get from Steve Good. So the only difference is his doesn't have the name in it. I create the name and put it on. His was to put it in with marker. I like to cut it out better than to put it in with marker. So what I've done is I have a 1/4 inch maple that I buy at a local hardware store. I put tape on it. See the green painter's tape? You can use blue. The painter's tape will help lubricate the blade so it works better. So all the inside cuts I've put on, use my drill, and I drill little tiny holes. The drill is so small you can barely see the holes, but anything bigger could ruin your lettering.
Well, why don't we I'll just take you over
Sure,
to the drill
let's go,
and we'll have a look at it.
Sure. So this drill bit is a little smaller than a 1/16, which is one of the smallest ones you can buy locally. So any interior cuts, and I put this board underneath, you'll notice the hole through the board, because if you don't have it underneath, you'll get a tear out on the bottom. So if you put something underneath it,
right,
you won't have the tear out in the bottom.
Perfect.
Okay, so then I do all the drills. Some of them because of the eyes, bigger drill bit, but all the little places I'll just, everything that's got to be cut out, I'll put it in there.
Well, that's a good tip, right? Because a lot of people have that tear out issue and they don't really know how they did it.
Yeah, so I'll bring it over to my DeWalt scroll saw, and what I normally do, the only negative part about this scroll saw is the arm doesn't stay up to, this here, believe it or not, is something that Steve Good showed us how to do, and it works great for holding the arm up. So what I have to do, I have to thread my blade through one of these little holes that I just drilled, and then I'll thread this through one of the holes in the bottom. Now this blade I'm using has 16 teeth per inch. I prefer a 20, but this is the one I just have in here now. The 20 does not leave any tear out on the bottom. The 16 leaves a little tear out, so there will be a bit of sanding at the end, but it's very little. So I'll just cut this Christmas tree out. I've got everything hooked up to a power bar underneath, so that when I turn it on, my lights come on, my saw comes on, because another downfall to the DeWalt is the starter will go off, will burn out on you if you're going on and off with it. Some people use the foot pedal. I prefer, this is just something I've done. You can do whatever you want. It's what you're comfortable with. See, and that even helps me loosen the blade up. It's easier on my fingers. So as you can see, I now have a Christmas tree cut out.
Perfect.
And I do that for all the rest.
The exact same setup?
Exact same setup, yeah. And like I said, my lights and everything are hooked up to the power bar. And I just turn it on underneath. And I thread this through something else. And cut out another, I'll cut out the two.
What are the different sizes of blades that you would standard?
You can get anything from 5 teeth per inch, but that would be doing like just a straight cut and a piece of hardwood, like oak or something.
There's no bend.
There's just very little bend in it.
Right.
I have used 28 teeth per inch. You got to be really careful with that because it's breaking if it isn't just straight on. Me personally, I like the 18. I like the 16 and the 20 inch are the two that I use mostly.
Right.
11.5 is another one, and 12
so
and a half.
fast.
I use the 12 and a half to do in the hardwood that's thicker.
Right.
You still get a good cut on it.
Perfect.
Yeah. So you can see there's a little bit of tear out with the 16 inch, but the 20 inch there's no tear out at all. And the 20 inch works good on this size wood, the 1/4 inch.
Right.
So like if I had a bunch of first Christmases to do, the next one I might cut Christmas out first,
Right.
or the name out first, so that I'm not doing identical all the time.
Gotcha.
Dan always asks a question at the end, so I'm going to ask him a question.
Okay.
Dan, if you could only have one saw, if you had to get rid of all your saws, you could only keep one saw, which one would it be?
That's a hard question.
I know it
That's
is.
a very hard question. Right now, I really enjoy using my sliding miter saw.
Right.
But I feel as though my projects involve multiple tools.
They do, absolutely.
So in your case, the scroll saw
Yeah.
does a lot of what you need.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm kind of all over the place. You know, as far as my shop, like I just built a wood shed recently, greenhouse. So there's framing involved. So yeah, and I've done things with using sanders. Like I'm kind of all over the map.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
I
so it's
understand.
really hard
Yeah.
to pick, but
someone did ask me if I could only have one saw, it'd be the scroll saw. And right now I have a DeWalt. It's a middle of the road scroll saw. You can do remarkable work on it. It's because of where we live in Nova Scotia, Canada, it's hard to get a top of the line scroll saw that's available in Canada.
like an industrial grade.
Yeah, like an upgrade. Most of them are from the States.
Right.
Although Beer Woods, I know this is another shout out to Beer Woods. I do get some of my wood parts from them. They do have a Pegasus scroll saw that it is in Canada. You can get it in Canada. They are in BC, but you can get it, and they're one of the top 3 in the world. So if you're looking for, but if you're just starting out, there's all kinds of entry-level saws that you can get for.
I get a Mastercraft scroll
Yeah.
saw. It's their Maximum series.
Yeah.
So it's got the blower on it, easy switch out for the blades.
Yeah, and that's what you want, the easy switch out for the blades.
The only thing I don't like about it is the throat isn't too deep.
Yep.
So it's kind of hard if you got a bigger project.
Yeah.
You can't really get around that. But
Now, when I mentioned earlier, I had the Mastercraft, that was 16-inch. I went
Right.
to a Ryobi 18-inch, which I love that. I had that for 10 years.
Right.
And I finally just wore it out. And
Well,
I
you
went
would.
to get another one. Went to get another
Yeah.
one, and they didn't make them anymore.
Right.
And I said, I can't go a smaller throat. I need a bigger one. So the biggest one we have around here, and is the DeWalt. Mine's 20 inches. It's most of the time it's way more than enough for what I got to do. Way more than enough.
Perfect. No, that's a great great thought on what you have for equipment, and you know, an option for someone that maybe doesn't want that high end, but they can still, you know, start with the low grade. And I also recommend that too, like your budget. If you don't have a big budget, you know, start off with the entry level, and you might not even like it, and then you're out all that money if you bought the high end. So you know, you do have to weigh all that when it comes to getting into tools and what you do. Give me a thumbs up, a like, and don't forget to click the subscribe button below. And thanks for coming on the show today, the episode. And you ready?
I'm ready.
So, Mr. Bill, what would you say? Do you want me to call you Mr. Bill?
You go right ahead. I
Okay.
got no problem with that whatsoever.
Well, whatever you want to be called.
Mr. Bill, Uncle Bill, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Mr. Bill is fine by me.
I was gonna make a
I'm wearing it
joke
right
that
here.
I was gonna make a joke. I call him Uncle Billy, but you can't. You know?
You go right ahead. You go right ahead. His name's Mr. Bill to you guys.
No, exactly.
Our cookies are here. Sorry, cookies.
All our cookies.
Should we go get our cookies?
Yeah, we can.
Sorry, we're going for cookies. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well,